Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this RedGamingTech.com video, we're going to be discussing, as well as analysing, tech news which, as usual, has popped up in the past 24 or so hours. And golly gosh, do we have a good video for you today. We're going to have tons of AMD things to go through, and some other really cool stuff for gaming as well. I'm just going to throw all into one video. It's not going to be two today, I don't think, because, quite frankly, as regular viewers know, I'm absolutely just flat out at the moment. I'm starting to do prep for moving and some other cool things. I'm also writing down some questions. This is a bit of a plug, so you can skip like 30 seconds into the video if you want. I'm writing down some questions and some talking topics for Matt Hargett, who is a former PlayStation employee. He's now at Roblox, and also Bob Duffy, who is working over at Intel Graphics. It's not going to be an interview with them. We're going to have a podcast. I've already had one with Matt. And previously, Michael/NXG was on there. Unfortunately, Michael's not available for this one. I was hoping to have all four of us chat, but as I said, he's not available. So it's going to be Bob, Matt, myself, and we're going to talk about tons of stuff in gaming. This is going to be everything from AI, next generation game engines, lots of cool stuff. So after that, there will be another podcast, which will be with another guest. I don't want to reveal who that is yet because I'm still waiting on final confirmation. Again, this will not be a live event because both of them are under tons of NDAs. We won't be discussing console-specific stuff like the PlayStation 5 or Intel's upcoming GPU architectures specifically because, again, they're under NDAs. But what we will do is talking about things generically, and I think there's going to be a ton of cool conversation around this. This video hopefully will be uploaded Thursday or Friday. But anyway, let's get back to the actual topic, shall we? We have tons of information of AMD's upcoming GPUs, which, as you are likely aware, there are three distinct variants, at least in terms of the actual core. There's 21, 22, and 23, with the 21 being the highest end SKU. So that will be in like the 6800, 6900 cards. And obviously 23 is going to be in the lower end SKUs. So what we have here is a discovery from Reddit user STBLR, and just for the rest of this video I'm going to refer to them as ST because, well, just saying that whole name is going to probably make me go insane. Also full credit to Tim Apisak, who shared this on Twitter, so they discovered the discovery, if that makes any sense. And what we have here are specifications, at least to a degree, of both the high-end and we assume the lower-end SKUs. Now, to my understanding, Navy Flounder is 23, Nave 23, which is the lower-end SKU, and again, the highest-end SKU, Nave 21, that seems to be Sienna Cichlid. For those who regularly watch the channel, you'll know that I've had a ton of exclusive information, so I will go over a few extra things that I've heard at the end of this, but first, Sienna Cichlid, at least according to Rock M Update, this is 3.8, seems to confirm we are looking at a grand total of 80 compute units. So this is actually pretty easy to figure out. You look at the GC_num_SE, which is the shader engines, which is 4. You multiply that by the number of compute units per shader, per shader engine. Basically, this gives you 10, and then you multiply that by 2. Because obviously dual compute units, wow, I really can't speak today. And that obviously gives you a grand total of 80. And the same math works with Navy Flounder. The only difference here is that you don't start with a base of 4, you start with just 2. So obviously this means that we're looking at up to 40 compute units in the highest end configuration. It also appears that the lowest end GPUs, which again is Navy Flounder, seem to have a bus width of 192-bit. Now, if you're regularly watching the channel, you'll know that I've said that I believe it's GDDR6 memory. Yes, not 6X, just regular 6. And the highest end SKU, from what I'm hearing, has just 256-bit, which obviously sounds kind of paltry in terms of memory bandwidth. Like, even if it's fast memory, you're looking at 448, maybe a little faster. But, that's gigabytes per second, just to clarify. But what's making the difference here is a ridiculous amount of cache on the GPU. And I'm hearing up to 128 megabytes of additional cache, although that is a bit sketchy. I'm unsure whether they're referring to total cache. So all level 1, all level 2, blah, 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 that all comes together, and that's 128 megabytes, or whether this is a separate piece of cache on the chip. Either way, it's this extra cache which helps make up the difference. Now, this is pure speculation on my part based upon what the specs are here and also kind of what I'm hearing, but it's possible that the highest end SKU does indeed have 16 gigabytes of memory. That's one thing that I've heard consistently. Even Jim over at Adore TV is certain it's 16 gigabytes for the highest end SKUs, and I've been told the same thing. But again, I've been told it's a 256-bit bus GDDR6. I was then told, and again I kind of went over this more recently, that the 6700 seems to be 12 gigs, which would put it as 192-bit, which is the same as what we have here for this 40 compute unit. So I don't believe that this lower end SKU, Navy Flounder, is the 6700. I think it might be lower down, but I'm not 100% on this. So if I had to take a guess, one of the reasons the performance is scaling downwards is because, quite simply, the amount of cache on the chip itself will also be reduced. As a very simple metric, and I'm not saying this is accurate, I'm just using it as a very simple illustrative example. Let's say we have 128 megabytes of memory on the highest end SKU, and then let's say with the 6700 class that goes down to, let's say, 96, and then maybe with the lower end SKU still this is reduced further. Again, I am just speculating here. I've not had this confirmed by my sources, but it is rather interesting that we are looking at this potential possibility. It's definitely a very different architecture to what we've seen previously. As just a quick overview, what I am certain of, relatively certain of anyway, based upon everything I'm told, is 128 megabytes of cache and GDDR6 on 256-bit bus with the highest end SKU, and then again the 6700 cards seem to have a 192-bit bus with 12 gigabytes of memory. Unfortunately, what I can't get for the 6700 cards are the number of compute units, which would much better enable us to figure out exactly where things fall into place. I'm hoping to get this information relatively soon. I again will also be very interested to see performance, and this is another small thing. So I'm hearing that the performance of the cards, as you probably know if you've watched the videos, is actually very comparable to Nvidia, so I don't want to step over old ground. I've gone over this extensively in a couple of videos now. I'll link the most recent one in the description and likely at the end of this video, but what I am hearing is that there is almost certainly some type of upsampling technology which is not quite like Nvidia's DLSS implementation. However, it's apparently possibly faster, but the actual... I don't want to say the quality is worse, but it seems like it's not working at such a high resolution internally. I've been told this now by 2 people. I don't know if one of them would like to be named, so I'll keep it out for now. It's going to be interesting to see whether this would be true. I personally believe it is, based upon what we're hearing from the consoles. And another thing that I've heard as well, and this is concerning the ray tracing performance, and I can't verify this is not from one of my regular sources, but I have been told that the ray tracing performance of RDNA 2 is going to really depend on many factors, primarily revolving around the game itself. It seems that, at least again to what I'm hearing now, and I cannot verify the specifics of this source, with the other sources I've mentioned a lot of the stuff from previously I'm a lot more confident in, so don't take this as confirmation, but I am hearing that Nvidia's architecture seems to scale better with higher resolution and ray tracing performance, but it seems too that Turing may be slightly worse than the RDNA 2 architecture, but Ampere seems to be better than the RDNA 2 architecture. So again, it's going to be very interesting if that's true, and I do definitely believe a lot of this will come down to specific implementations on a game-by-game basis. And now we're going to mosey on to something that doesn't necessarily interest everyone who's watching this video, but I do think I want to cover it at least somewhat, because I believe this is a really good answer to one of the reasons anyway, why Nvidia have purchased ARM, as the company, ARM that is, have released a 2020 to 2022 Neoverse platform roadmap. And I believe the platform roadmap image does quite well. I believe it pretty much very well illustrates what we're looking at here. Just to be clear, the highlights of this is that the adoption, I'm reading somewhat from the press statement, the adoption of the ARM Neoverse solutions are accelerating across key segments, including hyperscale and cloud computing, HPC, 5G, and the edge. ARM is further enabling the infrastructure transformation with the introduction of Neoverse V1 and N2 platforms, delivering 50 and 40% more performance, respectively, over Neoverse N2, and ARM continue to invest in the software ecosystem to enable frictionless developer experiences and software which just works. They had to use the phrase. They had to. I joked on Twitter that they actually made a typo on the press statement, and it was actually supposed to be Nvidia releases 20... Yeah. But I think that all of this is coming together from the perspective of Nvidia. Obviously, the cloud, I don't need to say this to people who are watching this, but it's a pretty big deal. And clearly there is a ton of competition at the moment. Intel and AMD, while technically they are in competition with one another, they do actually hold hands and skip down the road together in one area. It's in their best interests to keep the x86 platform alive. There is technically other x86 vendors, but compared to like Intel, they're small fry. Nvidia though are massive. I believe in terms of market cap, they're actually bigger now than Intel. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's true. And another thing I discussed recently from another exclusive, it started with Copity7 Kimmy, who tweeted that they believe that the second chip on Hopper, which is of course the next generation Nvidia architecture, so the one after Ampere, it has a CPU on it. I actually did some digging, asked a couple of sources, and they've told me that, yep, you guessed it, it's ARM. And this could have some very interesting ramifications to platforms and how all of this comes together, especially with CXL and other, technologies. I honestly will be very interested to see how all of this plays out, because technology is moving so fast recently from all companies. I also must admit I'm really hyped for the Intel Xe graphics architecture too. I think that people are very much underestimating it. I'm not saying it's going to be, stomping all of the other competition, but I think people are resting on their laurels. I think that the actual Xe architecture has a real shot of being good from what I'm hearing. And obviously AMD will continue to push. Arcturus, that's looking very healthy indeed, and AMD are already working on a successor to that, CDNA 2. So I feel that the data center in particular is going to see some massive improvements, especially as we start shifting to faster memory, like DDR5 should start to become a thing by like 2021-ish, which obviously will definitely solve all of the memory bandwidth issues that we're suffering from at the moment in cloud-based solutions, as well as faster PCIe. So with this roadmap, you can see that they will be shifting to PCIe Generation 5 as well as DDR5, and this is going to actually have HBM2E on it too. And then obviously this will continue to evolve over the next couple of years. So yeah, ARM are no joke. Not only do they produce chips for pretty much every usage scenario, but there are so many companies which are reliant on ARM. I will be very interested to see how the future unfolds here. And now I want to close out with Metal Gear Solid, as there are rumours that we are going to see Snake crawl back out of a hole, because Metal Gear Solid 1 and its sequel are coming to the PC. And this, of course, has led to tons of speculation online. This rumour mill started because of a Reset Era forum user, Potterson. And obviously they were talking on the requisite forum, and they mentioned this very fact. Well, I've got a bit of a confession for you all. I kind of knew about Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, so this is one of those games that is coming to the PlayStation 5. It's a PS5 exclusive, but it's also being released on the PC as well. I double-checked with my source, another source, and they've confirmed that they are pretty damn positive it exists. There are some things I am not allowed to mention about this game, unfortunately, but one of the things I can say is it is not a port. It is a full remake. I asked them, do you mean like an enhanced version of Twin Snakes, which of course was released on the GameCube? They said, no, I mean a full remake, and I actually mean a good remake. Those are their words, not mine. However, Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and 4, they are basically copy-pastas of the older experiences. I'm uncertain if that means identical to the older experiences, or whether there's any changes at all, like maybe slightly higher resolution, or whatever, or whether it's essentially copy and pasted. But, to my knowledge, Metal Gear Solid is definitely real. It is coming to the PlayStation 5 and the PC. To answer the next inevitable question, I don't know whether the PC version gets released later than the PS5 version, but I do know that both are being worked on. To answer the next question, I'm unsure how far along the development is for these games, for Metal Gear Solid 1, and I am pretty certain that it's going to blow minds when we see it. So again, Metal Gear Solid, just to clarify, Metal Gear Solid 1 is a full remake, but 2, 3, as well as 4 are not full remakes. They are basically just the old experiences, maybe with some updates. How certain am I about this information? Pretty damn certain. The source has been reliable in the past. They're not... I don't have as many good sources, to be honest with you, of game information as I do with hardware stuff. So if you regularly watch the channel, you know I've had a ton of AMD leaks which have turned out to be very accurate, a ton of console stuff, Nvidia as well, so on. But games, I'm still trying to get sources in the games industry, you know, in terms of actual games that are being released, but I am fairly confident that this exists. And this source too confirmed that Bloodborne does exist for the PC. This is yet someone else that's told me Bloodborne exists. Again, Bloodborne is allegedly existing for both the PC as well as the PlayStation 5. It is not a remake, it is a remaster. And what I am allowed to say is that essentially it's quite far along in development, and apparently it does have additional content. I don't think that this is stuff that wasn't intended to be in the original experience. If you're a Bloodborne fan, you'll probably know that there was a ton of cut content, and obviously this was somewhat restored apparently for this remaster. I don't know about the exact timing of this, but apparently it is quite far along in development. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I was quite surprised that Sony did not reveal this game at their recent event, but again, I do know this exists. I think titles like this, like Metal Gear Solid, are a reason that Microsoft was super aggressive in the acquisition of Bethesda, well, technically it was ZeniMax, because obviously ZeniMax have so many different IPs that it's one way that Microsoft can counter. I still think that both Microsoft and Sony are looking to do some acquisitions. I don't know what the specific details are as yet, but I actually was hearing that, and this is like after the fact, but I've been hearing from digging around that Microsoft and ZeniMax, this talk has been going on for a long time. This is not a recent discussion. So it is interesting, if that's true, that we still saw some games as timed exclusives on the PlayStation 5, such as Ghostwire Tokyo, which I think looks kind of cool. I think, honestly, I prefer the look of it than Deathloop, but I know that's everyone's different cup of tea. But anyway, that's just about it, I think, for this particular video. If you have enjoyed the video, then the normal stuff, like the video, of course, and give it a share on social media because it helps us out a ton. Obviously, we're not quite IGN in size, so any shares you give to friends and family helps us a massive amount. And, well, if you're not subscribed already, then you know what to do. With that said, thank you very much for watching the video. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.